Hello everyone, thank you very much for having me here. Also, thank you for being here. Today I'm going to talk about SharePoint site designs and site scripts. I have been blogging a lot about this topic. I have also been using it a lot. And today I want to share my knowledge and my experience with you in this area. But before we get started, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jarbas Horst. I'm from Brazil. And this is our topic today, site designs and site scripts. I work at Valo as a senior software architect, and in my free time, when I'm not spending time with my daughter or with my family, I am blogging about Office 365 and Azure topics. By the way, Valo, this is my team, and well, at Valo, we create products, software products for Office 365 and SharePoint on premises, like the Valo Intranet, Valo Ideas, and Valo Teamwork. I want to say thank you to all the sponsors that we have here today. Without them, it would be probably not possible to have a free event like this. So thank you to all the sponsors. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to all the supporters that we have. And thank you for being here today. Now I want to show you the agenda that we have. I want to start with an introduction. And here I will show you what are site designs and what can you do with that. After that, I will give you an overview about site scripts. And here we will also see pitfalls that you might have when creating site scripts. After that, we will see site designs. So here we have an overview about site designs. We have a live demo. And here I also show you pitfalls that you might have when working with site designs. After that, I'll show you how to apply site designs in different ways. Then I'll show you what's next and what's new in this area of site designs. And at the end, we'll have to recap. So here again, an introduction. Here I will show you what the site designs and what can I do with that. Now I want to show you a requirement that I have. So basically, I want to create multiple project sites in SharePoint. And I want those projects to have a consistent theme for all my projects. For instance, it should be green. I want to have external users accessing my projects. I want to have a list where I can track the project activities. And I want this project site being created as an Office 365 group and as a Microsoft team as well. Now, how can I fulfill those requirements today? Use, for instance, PNP. So PNP is an open source solution that I can use to create site collections and teams based on a template. I can also use paid solutions. Well, for instance, like Valo Teamwork, which is a solution from my company that you can use to create Office 365 groups, SharePoint site collections, and Microsoft Teams based on templates. And what we also have are site designs. Site designs is the provisioning solution from Microsoft, and it was first introduced in 2018. But what are site designs in detail? Well, you can use site designs like templates. It means that you can create it once and reuse it as much as you want. You can use site designs free of charge. You don't need an extra license for it. For instance, you can just use PowerShell and SharePoint and you are ready to go. Site designs is integrated in SharePoint. For instance, you can apply a site design directly from SharePoint. And you can use site designs to apply optical enhancements to a site collection. For instance, you could change the theme, the site icon, or the branding of a site collection. You could also use site designs to apply content to a site collection. For instance, you could create new content, you could update existing content. So basically, you can use site designs in different ways. As I said before, to create existing content, for instance, a new SharePoint list inside the site collection. But you can also use site design to extract existing content. For instance, you may have a SharePoint list and you want to use this list as a template. So site design is also, in this case, an option. You can also use site designs to update existing content. For instance, you could create a new column inside an existing list. And you can use site designs also to delete, for instance, an existing column inside a SharePoint list. Important to note here is that SharePoint Site Designs is only supported in SharePoint Online. So no support for that in SharePoint on-premises yet. Let's see how it goes. Now, how can I use site designs? The first thing that we need is a site script. So in the site script, I have definitions about the things that I want to apply to a site collection. Here is a place where I define the structure of the list, for instance, that I want to create. Here's the place where I define the theme that I want to apply to a site collection. Then I have to associate the site script with the site design. And in this site design, well, I define what to be indeed applied to a site collection. And here I also define how those changes are going to be applied to my site collection. Next step, well, it's only about applying my site design to an existing site collection. Now, as you can see here, the site design acts as an interface between the site script and the site collection. You need the site script in order to apply the site. You need the site design, sorry, in order to apply the site script. I cannot only take the site script and directly use that on the site collection, so I always need the site design. All right, what are the advantages of site designs? Because as I said before, we have PnP, we have third-party tools. So what are the advantages here? From my point of view, the history that you have inside the site collection is a big advantage. It's a big benefit to users. Because here I can see what site design was applied, when it was applied, and what was the content changed in my site collection. For instance, here, like in this example, I see that the theme was changed, that the list was created with different columns, and so on. We also have the integration to Power Automate and Logic App. It means that without complex configuration, I can trigger a flow or logic app from a site design. All right. In the next slides, I will give you an overview about site scripts. Then I'll show you pitfalls that you might have when creating site scripts. So here the overview. A site script contains definitions. Here is the place where I define the structure of the list that I want to create. Here I define, for instance, inside this list, the columns that I want to add to the list. I also define the theme, and all the changes that I want to apply to site collection will be defined in all the configurations will be defined in the site script. A site script is a JSON-based file. If you know PnP, you know that there you have an XML file, and here in site script, you will deal with the JSON file. In the JSON file, I have verbs, also called actions. So here you can see the apply theme verb and the create SP list verb. There is a lot of other verbs. I'll give you a short overview about all the supported verbs in another slide. Now, those verbs, they are applied in order they appear. So if I first define that the theme will be applied and then the list will be created, this is the order how things are going to be changed in my site collection. And we have a limitation here. It means that you cannot have more than 100 site scripts in your tenant. Now I want to get back to the requirements that I have presented before. I want to have a consistent theme through all my projects. I want to have external users accessing my projects. I want to have a list containing all my project activities, and I want this list to be displayed in the quick launch. I also want my site collection being created as a Microsoft team, so not only as an Office 365 group. Now, how can I fulfill those requirements using site scripts? Basically, these are the verbs that I need. And I want to explain two of them to you in detail. So the first one is apply theme. Here, I have to use custom themes. I cannot use the SharePoint default themes like green, orange, and so on. I have to create my own themes. And in the case of the requirement to create this project site as a Microsoft team, well, there is no verb that I can use for that. For instance, like teamify group. So there is no verb like this. But you could create an external separated logic and put that on a flow or on a Power Automate and trigger this logic from your site design using the trigger flow verb. So here's you see a list of all the supported verbs. Interesting to note here is that create SP list has a list of sub verbs or sub actions that you can use to enhance the list that you are going to create or maybe update. So as you can see here, during list creation, I could define the description, columns that I want to add to that list, content types, and so on. So it's a lot of things that you can do here. All right. So in the next slides, I will show you pitfalls that you might have when creating site scripts. And the first pitfall is a very simple one. So this is the script that I have. And I have been using Notepad++ to create this script. Well, basically, I want to create the Contoso project track list, and I want to add a column to this list. But something is wrong here. Well, now if I want to create this script as a site script, I went up with the following exception. So site script is not able to parse my JSON. But what's wrong here? I am missing commas. So that's the reason why I'm getting this exception here. So the reason is that I'm missing commas. And now how can I avoid that? Instead of using a tool like Notepad++, consider using a tool which gives you more support when editing JSON files, which highlights mistakes in a JSON format. So use Visual Studio Code instead of Notepad++. So an option is to use a website like this. For instance, you could copy your JSON, you could put that inside a validator tool and check if the content of your JSON is valid or not. And that helps you also troubleshooting an inconsistent JSON file. The second pitfall is about misspelled verbs. And this is the script that I have. So I'm trying to add the project activities list to the left navigation, and I want to apply a theme called corporate design. And again, something is wrong here with my script. Now, if I try to create this script as a side script, I will end up with the following exception. So basically, my add nav link is not a valid action. Well, what's wrong here? As you can see, the A of my verbs are not correct. And well, as I said, verbs. So not only the first verb, but also the second verb is wrong. And interesting here is that I'm only getting an exception for the first verb. In this case, if you have a big script with a lot of verbs, it will be difficult to troubleshoot, to find the mistakes. So what's the reason here? Verbs are case-sensitive values. Correct in this case here would be to have the first A of the add nav link and apply theme as a lowercase value. Now, what can I do to avoid this kind of exception? I could use, for instance, the Site Design.io website, which is a website that you can use to create site scripts online. You can also take advantage of IntelliSense in Visual Studio Code, and you could also check out the Microsoft documentation, which is very good documentation. Now I want to show you these three options live. So let's switch to the browser. And here we go. Let me zoom a little bit. All right. So this is the Site Design.io website, and we can create here a new project. And here I could just start setting my configuration. So I want to create a new theme or to apply a new theme. So let's add it here to my script. And well, if you want, you could add a lot of content here. For instance, a new navigation entry. And well, you could add a name and so on. So you can configure that. Once finished, you can just copy it and create your site script based on this script here that you have. Also, an option is a community contribution from Yannick. So you can use this URL in Visual Studio Code. So it means you have to replace the existing schema provided by Microsoft with this URL, which is also a valid schema. Well, here you could now, let's say we want to apply a theme. So let's take it, and here, let's see what are the supported properties. So it lists me here all the supported properties for this verb. So it is also very convenient. So it's not that updated, but it's a good way to start. What we also have is the Microsoft documentation. For instance, let's say I want to add a link to navigation. So if I click here, well, here I have very updated all the properties that I can use, how to set that up, what is the correct naming, and so on. So, and you have that for all the supported verbs. So like here, if I want to apply a theme, this is the property that I have to use. There is a new contribution from Yannick. He has created the Site Design Studio. Well, he has created a second version of that. And in this, well, you can check out his repository and have a look at it. Now, He has created a small video. Let me play that. Basically, you have here the Site Design Studio, which is a web part that you can use in SharePoint. And with that, you can manage site designs and site scripts from SharePoint. So it's very powerful. Since this functionality is still not provided by Microsoft, so it's a really very good contribution here. And here you see your existing site designs, you see your existing site scripts. So let me play that a little bit. Now he's going to edit an existing site script. And here you see the configuration of the site script, all the actions. You see this here as a JSON as well. And you also have the possibility now to export your JSON in different formats. So very convenient, very powerful, very easy to use. Give it a try. Now let's get back to our slides. The next pitfall is about misspelled properties and missing required fields. So basically this is the script that I have, and I'm still trying to add the project activities list to the left navigation, and I want to apply a theme. As you can see here, something is wrong with my script. Now, if I try to create this script as a site script, I end up with no exception, although something is really wrong here. Now, what's wrong? Well, basically, I have a problem with displaying property and with an empty value over there. The point is here that my script was created as a site script. It means that I can use it now in SharePoint. So what happens if I try that? I went up with two exceptions when applying the site script, the site design, to a site collection. So display name is missing and the theme name has an invalid value. Well, what's the reason here? Properties are also case sensitive. Correct would be to have the display name written in a different way. And required properties like theme name must have a value. How can I avoid that? Consider using the Site Design IO website, IntelliSense, check out Microsoft documentation, and also check out Yannick's contribution. So the next pitfall is about verbs in the wrong order. So this is my script. I'm still trying to add the project activities list to the quick launch. And in the next step, I want to create the project activities list. So again, something is wrong here. And if I try to create this script as a site script, I will end up with no exception again. Now, what's wrong with my script? The create SP list is in the wrong order. Again, the same situation. My script was created as a site script. And if I associate that to site design, I can apply it now to a site collection. So now what happens if I try to do that? I will get an exception for the first verb, since the SharePoint resource was not found. And the next step will continue. So it will be, my list will be created. So the reason here are logical dependencies. It means that I need the list in order to create, in order to add it to the left navigation. How can I avoid that? Don't put the cart before the horse. Otherwise, at least using site designs, you get an exception. Remember that you need the list in order to add that to the navigation. In the next slides, I will show you site designs. Here, an overview, a live demo, and pitfalls. The overview. Site design contains site scripts. Here, I define what will be indeed applied to a site collection. Since I can select what site scripts I want to associate with the site design. I can have more than one site script associated to my site design, and those site scripts, when associated, they run in the order they appear. It's important to know that because of the logical dependencies. Remember the pitfall number 4. I can associate a site design to existing templates from SharePoint. And if I do that, I can then apply the site design during site collection creation. I can also have a site design which is not associated to a template. In that case, you cannot apply the site design during site collection creation, but you could use the site design, for instance, in an existing site collection. I can also apply a site design during hub site association. For instance, when I associate a communication site with the hub site, a site design then will be applied to my communication site. And here I have also the same limitation as in the site scripts. So I cannot have more than 100 site designs in my tenant. So now let's move to the live demonstration. So here I have PowerShell, and let me get started here. So here is the script that I have, and basically I have in this script the entire configuration to fulfill the requirements that I have presented before. So I have here the verb to apply the theme, the verb to change the external sharing capability, the configuration for the list, and all the other things that we want to do. Now I will use PowerShell to create my site script, and then I will also use PowerShell to create my site design. Let me move here. I have already done it today, so I have the configuration right here. And yes, add SPO site script is the command, PowerShell command that I need to add this site script to my tenant. And here I have to provide the title, and I have to provide the content as I have done here. So let's do that now. It was added to the tenant. The next step, I want to add this to associate actually the site script to a site design. And for that, I will create a new site design, which is called project. And for that, I will use the PowerShell command add SPO site design. Here I have to provide a web template. 64 represents modern team site, and this is what we are looking for. And well, here I have site scripts. So here is that I can add a list of site scripts that will be applied when my site design is applied to the site collection. So if you want to add a second one, you can just add a comma and enter the ID of the site script that you want to add to your to associate with the site design. So now let's create it. So it's very fast. It has already been added to my tenant, and now we can continue. Well, let's try that in SharePoint, since it has already been added to the tenant. So the jumping off point for creating site collections in SharePoint is this area here. So let's click on create site, and here I have team site. So this is what I'm looking for. Here I have a list of all the site designs available that I can use in during site collection creation. Team site is the default one provided by Microsoft. And if I click here, I can see custom site designs like project. This is the one that I have just created. Now it's only about filling in this form. So everything's fine. Let's click on next. I don't want to have additional owners or members. Let's click on finish. And on the top of my site collection, I see this yellow bar. So if I click on progress, I see that the site design is being applied live. So let's it's done. Here I see that the theme was applied and all the other configurations. Now let's click on View Updated Site. And here I see that my theme was applied. I have like the green theme and I have my project activities list on the left navigation. And if I click here, I see my list with all the columns that I have created. So site designs is very simple, very fast to use. Now let's move back to the presentation. The next slides, I want to show you pitfalls that you might have when working with site designs. The first pitfall is about updating an existing navigation link. I already have the learning portal link and different site collections. And now I want to update the link from this navigation link, navigation entry. At the moment, it is msdn.microsoft.com, and I want to update it to docs.microsoft.com. Now, what happens if I try that? If I try to change those existing navigation entries using site designs, I will end up with duplicated content in my site collections. Why that? Well, the unique identifier for the addNavLink verb consists of two values, the URL and display name. If I change one of them, instead of updating the existing navigation entry, I will add a new one. So I will end up with duplicated content. How can I avoid this kind of exception? First, remove the existing link and then add the new navigation link to the navigation. Right, the next pitfall is about updating an existing list column. Here my script. I have already used this script to create the customers tracking list, as well as creating the customer name column. But now I want to change the add to default will property. It was created with the value of false, and I want to change it to true. Interesting to note here, if you want to update content, there is no update SP list verb. So basically, the verbs that you use to create content can also be used to update it. Now, what happens if I try to run this script on my existing list? Here I will also end up with duplicated columns. So the reason is that the display name will be always used as the internal name. If I run the script once, I will have customer space name. If I run it a second time, I will have customer space name 0, and so on. So how can I avoid that? By providing the internal name property, which unfortunately is not required. But if you provide this property, we will then address the correct column. Now, the next pitfall is about removing an existing list column. And this is my script. I want to remove the customer name column from the customer tracking list. I have 2 of them. So what happens if I do that? I may remove the wrong column. The point is that I'm not going to get a notification message, a confirmation message, like, do you really want to remove this column? SharePoint is just going to remove the column with all the content. So if you have content, it will remove everything. The reason here is that display name is not reliable, as we have already seen. How can we avoid that? This display name property from the delete SP field verb also supports having the internal name as a value. If you try that, you'll then be able to remove the correct column. So always enter here the internal name. Don't use display names since they are not reliable. Now, in the next slides, I want to show you how to apply site designs in different ways. Before we get there, I want to explain to you the difference between the asynchronous and the synchronous process of applying site designs. The synchronous process supports up to 30 verbs, and 30 is the total count of all verbs and all subverbs inside all the site scripts that are associated to my site design. When I do that synchronously, my changes are applied immediately to the site collection. There is no delay. If I do that asynchronously, I have support to up to 300 verbs. And again, 300 is the total count of all verbs and subverbs inside all the site scripts that I have associated to my site design. Here, the changes will not be added immediately. They will be added to a queue, and Microsoft will handle that for me. Now, how can I recognize if the site design is being applied asynchronously? If you see this yellow bar, it's just for your information. If you see this yellow bar on the top of the site collection, it means that the site design is being applied asynchronously to the site collection. All right. Now, how can I apply site design in different ways? I can do that from the SharePoint UI, and I can also do that programmatically using PowerShell, REST, and the client-side object model. If I do that using the SharePoint UI, I can apply the site design during hub site association. For instance, when I add a communication site to my hub site, a site design will be then applied to the communication site. As I have demonstrated before, you can also apply a site design during site collection creation. You can also apply a site design during Teams creation. In this case, site design is unfortunately not going to create channels, tabs, or change the settings of your team. It's going to be applied to the site collection, which is behind the team. So if you want to have this behavior, you have to set this site design as default. So this is what you have to do in this case. You can also apply a site design to existing site collections. Now to do that, you go to the site to the settings. Here you have the site designs link. And if you click here, you'll be able to select the site design you want to apply to a site collection. Interesting to note here is that only site collection administrators are able to see this link. If you are a site owner or site member, you will not be able to apply a site design to a site collection. So if you do that programmatically, if you want to apply a site design programmatically, you can use, for instance, PowerShell. And here we have the option between synchronous and asynchronous. So these are the verbs, the commands that I have. Invoke SPO site design and add SPO site design task. If you want to use REST, in this case here, I'm demonstrating that using Flow or Power Automate. So here's the API, the apply site design API. And if you want to do that asynchronously, you have to use the add site design task to current web REST API. Interesting to note here is that all those methods and APIs and commands used to apply a site design asynchronously have task as part of the name. So if it's asynchronously, it contains task. It contains task, it's asynchronously. Just remember that. It's easy to remember. If we want to apply a site design using the client-side object model, and if you want to do that synchronously, you have the apply site design method. And if you want to do that asynchronously, you have the add site design task static method. And important to note here is that you should not forget to call to the execute query method. Otherwise, you end up with no changes in your site collection. So very important here. Now I want to show you in the next slides what's next and what's new for site designs. We're going to have a site script package. And in this package, along with the site script, I'm going to have additional assets like documents that I want to upload to document library, this site logo that I want to change in my site collection. I also think that we are going to have documents that you want to upload as document templates for your document library. So I haven't seen that yet, but this is how I understood it. And as far as I know, this package is going to be a zip file. We are also going to have a verb that helps you creating pages, well, modern pages inside a site collection. And in the configuration, you'll be able to, I think, mark this page as a home page and to define the content of the page, like web paths that you want to have. If you try this verb today, you end up with this experimental exception. We are also going to have the add file verb. Now in detail, this is a subverb of the create SP list. And with this subverb, you'll be able to upload files to the document library. If you try that today, you end up with the same exception. We are also going to have a subverb called add folder. So add folder is going to be a subverb of the create SP list verb. And with this add folder, you will be able to create folders for this structure inside document library. The same applies here. If you try that today, you end up with the same experimental message as when using the add file and the create page verbs. Now, what's new? There is a new capability that you can use to extract the content of a site collection. And in order to reuse that, so in order to, it's similar to the save as template that you know from SharePoint, but not that powerful. At the moment, you can only include lists, the branding, the theme, regional settings, external sharing capability, and links from the quick launch. Interesting to note here, it's not going to extract content. So list items are not extracted, documents are not extracted, and so on. So the site icon is not extracted. It's only going to extract the configuration of your of the things that we're including. If you want to have more information about that, you can check out my blog. There is a video by Fesa Juvonen for Microsoft. There is also the Microsoft documentation. There is a lot of places that you can have a look at this feature here. Now I want to give you a recap here. So when talking about site designs, we have 3 layers. The first one is the site scripts layer, and here I define what will be. Now here we define the definitions. Here we have the definitions about the things that we want to change in a site collection. So here I define the structure of the list that I want to create. Here I define the theme that I want to apply. Here I define the change that I want to have in the navigation. In the next step, I have to associate the site script with the site design in order to be able to apply changes to a site collection. So in the site design, I define what will be indeed applied to a site collection, since here I can select the site scripts that I want to apply. Here I also define how the site design is going to be applied to a site collection. For instance, during site collection creation or only to an existing site collection. And the next step is about applying the site design to a site collection. Now, this is my example, and this is how it looks in real life. You may have two different site scripts being used in a site design. You may have different site designs sharing the same site script. You may have different site designs being applied to a site collection. And it's also possible to have a site script or maybe a site design which is there, which is so there is no association as in this case here. So I have a site script. It's not associated to a site design. It's just there. Now, site designs are like templates. I can create it once and reuse it as much as I want. It's an interesting alternative or complement to PnP or other provisioning solutions. For instance, I could create a site design. I could trigger Power Automate, and this Power Automate could trigger an Azure function, which could then apply a PnP template to a site collection. So I could enhance the functionality of a site design. We have here a limitation of 100 site designs and site scripts in my tenant. So remember that. Pay attention while working with site designs. I have only demonstrated 7 pitfalls, and unfortunately, there is still a couple of other things that you may face when using this new functionality. You can apply site design in different ways. You can apply that to existing site collections, during hub site association, during teams creation, and so on. You can apply that programmatically. There is a lot of possibilities here. So try if you haven't yet. Site design is very powerful, easy to use, and free of charge, which is always good. Thank you very much for having me here today. Also, thank you for being here.